Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So today we begin the study of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Before we begin, the fundamental question you should ask is, why are you studying this? What made you come and start learning? You want to learn, right? What the Gita is all about. So fundamentally, this book talks about the eternal principles of life. So to do anything properly in life, in the world, you need to learn the technique, right? See, the first time these flat screen TVs came out, we all had the tube TVs. We had to learn how to operate them. There were different operating systems, there's a different way to do it, connections, you have to learn it. Otherwise, how can you operate it? The first time you had a phone, the mobile phone, you had to learn it. There's a manual for it. So if you analyze, where is the manual for your life? Have you learned the technique of how to live your life? This is what the Gita is. It's the manual. So not knowing how to live life and living life is like going on a busy highway, not knowing how to drive. What will happen? I don't have to tell you. There will be a crash. There will be problems. So since this is not known anywhere in the world, there is no education on the technique of living. You find both at the individual and society level all kinds of problems. So at the individual level, what is there? There's stress, there's addiction, depression, divorces, bitterness. At the society level, what is happening? The world level, terrorism, war, corruption, greed, destroying humanity. All these problems is because of this greed. In fact, even if you say terrorism, war, corruption, it's all greed. All because there is no attempt to learn and understand what life is all about. So this knowledge, this manual, which contains the eternal principles for thousands of years, they don't change. This knowledge is called Vedanta. Many of you have heard about the Gita, but very few know that the Gita is a one textbook. Definitely the most well known, the most widely read, but it's just a textbook of the Vedanta philosophy. So what is Vedanta? Since so many of you are new today, first time, what is this knowledge we're talking about? So just to give you a historical background, the thousands of years ago, when there was a time in North India, I'd say 4,000 years is when we're talking about, minimum. when the society had reached a level of spiritual maturity. This is called the Vedic age. And this knowledge was transacted privately between the guru and the disciple. So there was a Gurukula system where the guru would teach there were gurus, many teachers, and they would teach the students. And then for the public prayers and ceremonies and rituals, there were books called the Vedas. Those days it was oral. And that's how society was structured. Hundreds of years passed, and these sages found people had become so addicted to the rituals and prayers of the Vedas that they had lost their meaning. See, any prayer or ritual, you should know that, is just a reminder of your purpose and mission in life, which is to realize who you are. It's just a reminder. Whether you go to a temple, church, you pray, you do a ritual. But people tend to get addicted to rituals and lose the significance. And that's what happened, even those days. So the private teachings were formalized by the sages and attached to the Vedas. These are called the Upanishads, which contain the philosophy. And they are found at the end of each Veda. There are 4 Vedas. And that's why this philosophy is called Vedanta, the end of the Veda. And there's also a pun. Veda means knowledge, wisdom. Anta means end, the ultimate. So you look at the board. Vedanta, Veda, wisdom, knowledge. Anta, ultimate, culmination, the end, the highest, the end of wisdom. That's what it means, the culmination, the ultimate wisdom. And why it's the highest wisdom is because it teaches you how to achieve the 3 goals that you live for. Every human being, in fact, it's elaborated in the Gita that every human being seeks 3 goals. In the Gita, he calls it Siddhim, which is success, achievement, Sukham, happiness, peace, and Param Gatim, the ultimate goal of enlightenment. So you see that on the board. Siddhim is success, Sukham, happiness, fulfillment, Param Gatim, the supreme goal. So Vedanta helps you achieve all 3. That's why it's the highest. Now, see, this is to distinguish it between other knowledges. Now, let's say you get a degree in college. What does that give you? It's also knowledge. It gives you information. Let's say you go to law school, you get a degree in law. What have you got? You've got a lot of information in law. And you sell that information to people who don't know law. That's what you do all your life. You make a living. Nothing wrong. But that's it. That degree cannot teach you how to handle your stress at work, how to handle your relationships, how to raise your children. It can't teach you anything. So it's a very limited application. But Vedanta teaches you all 3. Once you have it, you'll know how to be successful at work. You'll know how to be peaceful. You'll know how to reach enlightenment all the way if you want. So how does Vedanta and the Gita teach you this? I'm giving a broad outline today since we are starting. So how you get peace is by control over your mind. This is how you become peaceful. Remember that. Happy. See, what I mean is, simple examples we often give, right? There's nothing wrong with having a drink, but you lose control, you become an alcoholic. That's the problem. There's nothing wrong with earning money. You lose control. It gets into greed. Then you're in a problem. So I was telling them in yesterday's class, the guy worth 16 billion got in trouble with the SEC for an insider trade for 400,000. You got 16 billion, but you want that little more till you destroy yourself. So, anywhere you are stressed or unhappy is because your mind has gone out of control in that area. Remember that. So, don't blame the world. It's your mind. And what controls the mind is the intellect. It's called buddhi in Sanskrit. So Vedanta builds your intellect to be able to control your mind. No school, no university can build it. They don't know how. They can just give you information. So in life you have to build your own intellect. Remember that. Nobody can do it for you. So if you look at the board, this is the fundamental distinction. Body, mind, intellect. So action is performed by the body, right? But the body is directed by either the emotions and feelings of your mind. Mind is called raga, dvesha in the Gita, likes and dislikes, feelings, impulses. And the only thing which only a human being has, which can control the mind, is your intellect, your capacity to think and reason. Simple example. You're driving on the highway and you hear the ding of your phone, right? Ding, tong, ting, whatever. Everywhere, 100 types of dings. You have your own ding. And it dings. What happens? Your mind feels like looking at the phone. It's just an emotion. I'd like to know what my friend has sent me. A heart. It'd be so nice to see. I'm having such a bad day. God knows what concepts you have. You'll have a worse day if you look at it. That's what you're trying to say. So your intellect comes in and says, look, I'm driving. I can't afford to look at my phone. But if you have a weak intellect, you will look at the phone. You know how many people have destroyed their lives for that one impulse? Some accident, some handicap. One lady did that and her 2 children died. She was saved. For what? For that little impulse. This is your mind. So when the mind goes out of control, you become stressed. And at work, that stress manifests as worries of the past, anxiety for the future. And when your mind wanders like that, you can't concentrate. Not only can you not concentrate, you feel fatigued and tired. See, young children are never tired because they have no worries and anxieties. Adults are always tired. So if you can't concentrate and you don't have the energy, how can you succeed in anything? So when you develop an intellect, you keep your mind peaceful. And a peaceful mind can concentrate. Peaceful mind remains energetic. And you succeed in life. So this is how you get peace. These are the fundamentals. You will not learn it anywhere else. You will not get it. Nobody knows of peace and success. It's the intellect controlling the mind. See, there's a brilliant surgeon. He's done thousands of surgeries. These are actual cases. And that same surgeon cannot operate on his own wife when she's on the table. He can't. because his mind is agitated. So something which he can do easily. Once the mind gets disturbed, you can't. And this is what is happening to you all the time. Something which you should be able to achieve, accomplish, you can't because the mind is agitated. So friends, this is how this knowledge brings you peace and success in this world. So Krishna, the teacher of the Gita, gave out the knowledge to Arjuna, his disciple, a great warrior. So the first chapter of the Gita talks about this. How a great warrior like Arjuna, very successful, accomplished, educated, everything he had. But when he came into the battlefield, this represents the challenges you're going to face in life. You can have everything in the world, but if you don't have this training, which Arjuna did not have or did not care to develop, he succumbed to the challenges. So the first chapter details this condition of the human being. So it applies to all of us. It doesn't contain philosophy. It contains the psychology, the psychological preparation. What happens if you don't attend to your mind? You deteriorate. So he couldn't face the challenges. In fact, in the 29th and 30th verse, which we'll do subsequently, he says that. Gandivam shamsate hastat, my bow falls from my hand. Vepatushcha sharire me, my body is whirling, I can't stand. So when the mind is agitated, the body gets disturbed. That's why you get stressed, all kinds of health problems. That's what happened to Arjuna. The mind is agitated, you can't think clearly, you can't act properly. So then Krishna gave out the message of the Gita from chapters 2 to 18, very systematically, scientifically, logically. Those of you who are interested, I don't know how many of you will last that long, but those of you who are interested you will see that. And at the end of the 18th chapter, the 73rd verse, he gives the effect of the knowledge. What does he say? Nashto moha smritir labdva. My delusion is cleared, my understanding restored by your grace, O Achyuta Krishna. I am firm, with doubt dispelled. I will do your bidding. So your delusion gets cleared, you're firm, your doubts are gone, and you are able to act what you ought to do in life. This is the effect. In fact, the last and final verse of the Gita summarizes this effect. Wherever Krishna, the Lord of Yoga, is, and Partha, the archer, is, there arises Shri. Shri means prosperity. Jaya, victory. Bhuti, glory. Dhruva, niti, sound policy. That is my conviction. So what does that mean? Prosperity means success, material achievement. Victory, the achievement of your goal, which gives you prosperity. Glory, bhuti, means the spiritual elevation. And sound policy, intellectual clarity in life. So you become intellectually clear, you become mentally peaceful, you become successful. Now what else do you want? And ultimately gain enlightenment. So this dynamic combination of Vedanta, which is Krishna, and very interesting, he says wherever there is Arjuna the archer, which means The student must be a dynamic, committed individual who wants to learn, who's in the world. And unfortunately, the Gita has become in India a post-retirement pastime. Literally. It's so divorced from the actual. See, this knowledge has to be given before you start your life. It's the knowledge of how to live it. So sad. See, last week we had a retreat, and some of the people who came new, in the Catskills, they were saying, how do you have so many youngsters here? We thought they'll be all. They didn't say it. They were. Gita retreat means they thought average age will be 80. How many young people? Nobody understands. In fact, in India, here we've been able to attract because of the way it's presented. That's all. India, however you present it, doesn't matter. In the public lecture, literally the average age is 75. People believe it. This is meant for your after retirement. No, not that it's too late. You can learn at any age, but when is the most benefit? That's what he means. There should be a dynamic student, active, dynamic, committed, and this knowledge. There is no end. Be an incredible effect. And finally, friends, the most important, prosperity and peace are relative goals in the world. No doubt you want them. But the real message of the Gita is the path to enlightenment, the supreme goal, which is what every human being seeks unconsciously. Because you can have all the materiality, you can have all the achievement in the world, you will never be satisfied until you hit infinite happiness, permanence, immortality. So the real goal of life is to get there. Peace and happiness are incidental. They shouldn't be the primary. You'll get them, don't worry. But your real goal should be to get to that supreme state. So Bhagavad Gita literally means, Bhagavat means of the Lord, of the enlightened soul. Gita means song. So it's the song of the enlightened, the song of the Bhagavan, the song of a realized soul. Song of the Lord, however you want to translate it. It's the same thing. The Gita starts with the word dharma, which we will do. So the verse 1, chapter 1 starts with dharma. Dharma kshetre, guru kshetre. And ends with the word mama. The last word of the Gita after 700 verses is mama. So the Gita is sandwiched between dharma, mama. Mama means my, dharma means nature, my essential nature. So the Gita is meant to reveal to you your essential being, your real nature. So beyond your body, mind, intellect, we showed you that diagram, body, mind, intellect. Those are just material layers. Beyond the body, mind, intellect lies your real self, soul, spirit, which is the pure consciousness called Atman, self in Sanskrit, God in English. So your real mission as a human being is to go through, overcome, transcend your material layers of the body, mind, intellect and hit yourself. That's it. That is called Param Gatim, the supreme goal. So in conclusion to this introduction, you get peace, you get happiness, you get success, and you will achieve enlightenment. Now, what else do you want in life? You don't need anything else. And you're doing everything else except this. And then you say, I'm stressed, I'm this, I'm that. So nobody has a clue. They don't know the fundamental principles of living. So in the Gita, he puts it up in the second chapter. He says, what is this yoga? Very interesting. Samatvam yoga uchyate. In the 48th verse of the second chapter, peace of mind is yoga. And then 2 verses later, he says, it's not just peace. You should be dynamic, efficient, successful. Yoga karmasu kaushalam. So remember these 2 words. So yoga is peace of mind and it is skill in action. And you don't have to wait indefinitely till self-realization. Don't have to worry about that. Even relatively, you will get happiness while you are proceeding on the spiritual path. So it serves you always. So there's a verse where he says that. How you get happiness within until you hit the infinite. Unattached to external contacts. Bahya sparsha vasaktatma. One finds happiness in the self. And uniting oneself to Brahman by yoga, one attains eternal bliss. This is the 5th chapter. I'm giving you some important verses so you understand how profound and practical this knowledge is. So you don't have to wait indefinitely till enlightenment. To the extent you put in effort, you will find commensurate peace, happiness in life. But you disregard it, this knowledge. This world is just a womb of sorrow, he calls it. You'll see that. The enjoyments that are born of contacts are just wombs of sorrow, dukkha yoni. They have a beginning and an end. The wise does not rejoice in them. This is the world. No doubt there's a temporary enjoyment, but it's so fleeting and it gives way to sorrow inevitably. Because how many ever desires you fulfill, the mind is insatiable. It craves for more. And you're left more bitter, more dissatisfied. This is the womb of sorrow. It starts as joy, ends as sorrow. This is the world. So you see, because the mind, he says, is insatiable like fire. See that? O Kaunteya, this is the 3rd chapter. Wisdom is covered by this constant enemy of the wise in the form of desire as insatiable fire. Remember that. Why fire? How much ever wood you give fire? Does any fire say enough? It will want more. How much ever wood you give, this is your mind. How much ever you feed it, how much ever you earn for it, give it. No, I want more. And this goes on and on in life until you end up bitter, dissatisfied. So this is the world. I'm giving you the contrast so you understand why you need this knowledge. So it's your choice. In fact, he uses 2 strong words in the 8th chapter for the world. You know what the world is? He says, ashashvatam. It's transitory and fleeting. Dukkhalayam. It's the abode of pain. So he just dismisses this world, like I explained to you. So it's your choice, friends. You have this on one side, the world, pain and sorrow, ending in decay, disease and death. That's the world. And you have the self. Happiness, more happiness till you get to enlightenment. It's your choice. You decide what you want. I'm nobody to tell you. The Gita is nobody to tell you. You have to decide. In fact, in the 6th chapter, Krishna tells Arjuna, Uddharet Atmanatmanam. You have to raise yourself by yourself. Atmayava yatmano bandhu. Atmayava ripuratmana. You are your friend. You are your enemy. Don't blame others. Krishna says, I can't do anything. I can no doubt teach you, but you have to do it. So friends, it is your commitment, your determination that helps you in this path. The teachers and the gurus and the books, no doubt they're essential. They only show you the way, but you have to put in the hard work. It's like a gym trainer can show you how to do exercise, can teach you the principles, but you have to go to the gym and work out. Vedanta is like that. You have to put in the effort to gain the knowledge, bit by bit, question. In fact, in this class, you'll have a chance to even ask your question. So many people tell me, we listen to lectures, we never have a chance to clarify our doubts. You can do that. I give people full freedom, as long as it's relevant to the text. So, this word, every chapter of the Gita starts with the word yoga. And before we get into the text, I want to clarify, because yoga is not what you think it is. What is marketed in the West is a outer shell of yoga. Yoga comes from the Sanskrit word yuj, which means to join, to unite. Religion comes from the Latin re, again, liga, to join, like ligament joins your tendon to your bone. Repeat, reiterate. So religa, religion means to join again, to reunite. So what that means is you have separated from yourself, from your real self. So any attempt to join back is called yoga. So what is marketed in the West is just the outer shell, which I have great respect for. I do that exercise and breathing every morning myself, but that's just physical fitness. The real yoga consists of these three things. Karma. For your body, you need to do selfless action, which is called karma yoga. Because you have a body, mind, intellect. See how scientifically they have composed this knowledge. So for your body, you need selfless action. Karma yoga. For your mind, you need devotion. Awareness that there is something higher beyond all this. That awareness is called devotion, bhakti. And for your intellect, you need Vedanta, this knowledge. What is real, what is unreal, what is the self, what is the world. The principles of living, knowledge of self. So these are the three pillars of yoga which nobody even talks about. Sad state of spiritual education. There is no education. It will be chanting, it will be rituals, it will be exercises, it will be breathing, it will be everything else except the three things which will help you. Now what to tell you? It's not that these books are saying it, I am fanatically attached to them. 30 years I've been doing just this, morning, noon, night. I'm 50 now. Since I was 20, I left everything to study this. So I'm telling you out of study, research and experience. Without these three, you can't get it. So the Gita explains all three aspects thoroughly, completely. It takes 700 verses to do that. So you can appreciate the depth of the knowledge. So you have to make a commitment to learn it. It takes time. Because most people who signed up today, introduction, that's it. Once I know the Gita. Nothing. At the end of the lecture, you should say, now I knew more before I attended the lecture. Now I'm totally confused. Then you're getting somewhere. So, how the Gita is organized It consists of 18 chapters. And these 18 chapters are designed to explain the great commandment of the Upanishads. Tat Tvam Asi. Tat Tvam Asi means Tat, that, Tvam, you, Asi, are. That you are, that thou art. So you are not this body, mind, intellect, you are the self. So the 700 verses of the Gita divided into 18 chapters explain that. Chapters 1 to 6 explain Tvam, you, the individual. 7 to 12, Tat, that, the self. What is that self? And 13 to 18, the relationship between Tvam, you, and that self. That's the organization. And by way of background, you all know, at least most of you would know, the Gita 700 verses are part of the epic Mahabharata, which is 100,000 verses. So the whole Mahabharata story was written to attract you to the Gita. And people now read the Mahabharata, as soon as the Gita comes, they fast forward. Get back to the story. Now what can you say? Everything is upside down nowadays. So if the Mahabharata is the necklace, the Gita is the pendant. See, the necklace is made beautiful so it shows the beauty of the pendant. The necklace must be aligned to the pendant, no? Pendant is green and necklace is blue, black, red, but it's a matte pendant. So the necklace has to display the beauty of the pendant. A temple is beautiful and built beautifully. To do what? To take you to the deity, to the idol there. So if the Mahabharata is the temple, the Gita is the deity. I saw the temple from outside. Very good. What have you done? So in fact, the story itself has a philosophical significance. The Mahabharata talks about the fight between the 5 virtuous Pandavas and the 100 unrighteous, wicked Kauravas, cousins. 5 versus 100. What does it mean? It means the fight within you. The positive parts of you, spiritual, selfless, are always less in number, but they are far higher in quality. Remember that. Quantity goes up, quality will go down. So 100 Kauravas means selfish tendencies in us are much more than the positive. And there's a constant fight between your lower material sensual desires and your spiritual uplifting desires. There's a constant fight. And who's winning? The selfish are always winning because they're too much. And that's why for most of the Mahabharata, the Kauravas were overcoming the Pandavas. They usurped all their wealth. They humiliated them. They threw them into exile. That's the whole story. Until the Pandavas surrendered to Lord Krishna, then the tide turned. So until your positive qualities take refuge in spiritual knowledge, they cannot defeat the negative. You can't. However good you may be, unless you gain spiritual direction through this knowledge, you will not be able to overcome your lower desires and attachments. You can't. It's not possible. You will remain where you are. So that's the Mahabharata war. Under the guidance of Krishna, they overcame the far superior army of the Kauravas. So once you do that, you gain that peace prosperity, and spiritual progress as we discussed earlier. Got it? So now coming to the first chapter, each chapter of the Gita in fact is divided into subtopics. Now this is not there in the original Gita, it is an original contribution of my Guru, Swami Parthasarathi, because he did decades of research and he found that within each chapter of the Gita, there are subtopics which help you understand the thought flow in each text. So let's say chapter 1 has 43 verses. Now what is the thought flow? So those of you, many of you have it. Those of you who don't, at the end we will show you the book, how you can get it, his commentary, which is very useful to understand the text along with these lectures. So chapter 1 is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga, the description of Arjuna's sorrow, which means our condition. How we are not prepared for life, and when a challenge comes, we all get into this stress and strain. We lose our clarity of thought and we don't know what to do. This is Arjuna. And how we get out of this is the Gita. So, the first chapter, to be honest with you all, is not really philosophical, it's more psychological. So, it just sets the field for the philosophy to follow in chapter 2. So, we will go through chapter 1 much faster than we go through the rest of the Gita. So, those of you who don't know, I'm just telling you because many verses there's nothing much to teach you. It's just setting the stage, as it were. So can you put up the topics? Chapter 1. Verses 1. Dhritarashtra's question to Sanjaya. 2. Duryodhana, who's the eldest Kaurava, betrays his vanity and fear. 2 to 11. 3. Sound of the conches terrifies the Kauravas. 12 to 19. 4. Emotions overpower Arjuna. 20 to 30. 5. Arjuna tries to justify his false vairagya, renunciation. So Arjuna wants to leave the battlefield and he gives reasons why he should not fight the war. So when your mind is overcome by emotion, you start finding reasons to justify your emotional nature. Deadly, terrible state. And finally, he's confounded and distressed and he collapses on the battlefield. 40 to 47. The modern equivalent of that is everybody wants early retirement. You have collapsed on the battlefield. You ask any youngster who's 20, what is your goal? I should have enough money so I can retire by 40. That's their goal. My guru is 97, he's still working. You can still talk to him and ask him. No, don't do that. Because, but he's there. He's working. So with Vedanta, you enjoy your action. And when you enjoy what you do, there's no need to retire. Otherwise, you're waiting. What are you waiting for? Today is a Memorial Day, weekend, Friday, Happy Friday. That fellow from our homeowners association, he sends an email every Friday, Happy Friday. I was going to write to him, why don't you send an email on Mondays, Wretched Monday. Wretched Monday to all of you. What is this nonsense? Why can't Monday morning feel like Friday evening? Then you're living. Because every day you have something to look forward. But you don't have this knowledge, you end up like Arjuna did. But luckily Arjuna had access to the Vedanta, and so do you, through this knowledge. So don't worry. We'll turn the whole thing around. But it needs your commitment to study this. Right. So we'll start with verse 1. So you know how we follow. So what we do is we chant the verse and then we play it again. So you can chant along with us. That's the traditional way to do it. And then I explain each verse. And if you have any questions or clarifications today, of course, because we had a long introduction, we didn't have time to take questions. But subsequently, you're more than welcome to ask by raising your hand on the online. Okay? Verse 1.
धृतराष्ट्र उवाच धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुयुत्सवः मामकाः पाण्डवाश्चैव किमकुर्वत सञ्जय धृतराष्ट्र उवाच धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुयुत्सवः मामकाः पाण्डवाश्चैव किमकुर्वत सञ्जय
Dhritarashtra said, assembled on the sacred field of Kurukshetra, Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre, desirous to fight, what did the sons of Pandu and mine do, O Sanjaya? So the first verse of the Gita is very powerful because it gives what has happened to you spiritually. It gives the reason why it's happened. It sounds very innocuous, but you'll see when I explain it. And it tells you how to get back to the self, to take care of the problem. It's amazing. So, what is happening is this battle is going on in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. In fact, it's not going on, it's about to start. And Dhritarashtra, the blind king, the father of the Kauravas, the unrighteous Kauravas, is sitting in his palace in Hastinapur. He's blind. And the story is his charioteer, whose name is Sanjaya, has been given the ability to see what is happening in that field far away. Now don't ask me how. I don't know. This is a story. And he's narrating the goings on in the battlefield to Dhritarashtra. So the Gita starts with Dhritarashtra asking Sanjaya, look, tell me what is going on. That's the literal meaning, right? Now what does it mean philosophically? Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre. The first few words. Dharma Kshetra means the field of righteousness, divinity. Dharma has become a Kurukshetra, a field of battle, war, sorrow. So what it means is your real nature is supreme. The self, infinite, blissful. And because of ignorance, you have now become this limited individual experiencing sorrow and suffering in the world. So the Dharma Kshetra has become a Kurukshetra. Number one. Number two, why has this happened? See what did the sons of Pandu and mine do, O Sanjaya? See, Pandu was actually the ruler of Hastinapur, but he died, and Dhritarashtra, the blind king, took over the kingdom. Right? And he adopted his brother's sons, the 5 Pandavas. So, as a king and as an uncle, what should his obligation be? To take care of them as his own children. But see how he looks at it. First verse itself. What did the sons of Pandu do versus my sons? So the root cause of all your problems, spiritual problems, is this sense of I and mine. Selfishness. See, he didn't say, what did my nephews do? See, there's no minus. Pandu's sons. That brother of mine, his children. See that distance. They are separate. Even his brother's children, he can't think of them as his own. Forget about others. So the whole problem in the world, in fact, the whole Mahabharata is based on this one man's attachment, Dhritarashtra. The whole story revolves around his attachment to his son. And because of that, he destroyed the whole kingdom. So you see everywhere. Where are the problems in the world? For that one selfish attachment, could be power, position, money. You destroy everything. The leaders today are self-centered. So they're destroying everything for their own selfishness. Everywhere. Religious leaders, political leaders, business leaders. That greed, that selfishness. So how do you get back to your real nature? If you play around with the words Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre, you can also rewrite it as Kshetre Kshetre Dharma Kuru, which means in every field, in every action, do the right thing. Use your intellect. Follow the path of righteousness. So the fall is Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre, the rise is Kshetre Kshetre Dharma Kuru. In every aspect of your life, you must make sure you are programming it to reach the self. That's how you get there. And the reason you have fallen is this personalization. Selfishness is the root cause of all the misery in the world. So with this knowledge, you'll be able to see beyond your selfish interest. The minute you do that, you become peaceful. That's the fundamental teaching of Karma Yoga, part of the teaching of the Gita. So, we will continue verse by verse next time. Now, before we end, so the book that we follow, since many of you are new, if you want a book to follow side by side, that's the one. It's the Bhagavad Gita, written by A. Parthasarthi. It's the name of my guru. So it's available in physical form as well as in e-books. You can get it anywhere. And to help you get it, we've put our website. So you look at, this is our website, right, which you all visited, Vedanta USA. You go to the top right, there's literature. And under literature, there'll be Bhagavad Gita. So all you got to do is go to that page. You will see the physical form and the e-books on Apple or Google, wherever, Kindle, whatever version you use. And secondly, Sunday mornings is when I have this class. On Saturday mornings at the same time, I'm teaching another book called The Holocaust of Attachment, which explains the foundational principles of Vedanta. So along with the Gita, I would recommend, if you can manage, to also do the Saturday sessions. And you can get that on the events and programs link in the same website to find out more about that class. If you cannot attend live, of course live, like as you can see now, we're all together, it makes a huge impact. But you can't attend live, the recordings are uploaded on YouTube in a day or two. So you have access to 1 month's recordings. if you're traveling or you can't make it to the live class, not a problem. We have that too. So since we've just started, make an effort to tell all your friends or family about the knowledge, because why deny them if they are interested from the beginning? And lastly, we do meet in person twice a year in the Catskills in upstate New York. So the next one, we had the first one, we have it twice a year. The first one was last week, in fact, last weekend, right? So the next one is September 27th to 29th. So it's a time we all get together for the weekend, Friday to Sunday, and study. We'll be studying, in fact, the Upanishads, which I talked about in the beginning, from the Vedas, some select verses from there. Right? So we've covered everything. So we will see you now next week. On Wednesdays, I have a Q&A session. It's meant more for the people who've been listening for a while, but any of you are welcome to come. You can get that same information on that website. Okay? Hari Om.